Hello there. So right at this moment I'm just watching the world population counter, which is on what is it called, this Worldometer. Now obviously this is sort of based on estimates of what the world population is at present on different timescales dependent on the measurements each countries are making, and so the estimated populations come from the figures supplied from individual countries around the world, and based on past figures from previous decades before as well. So the rates of growth are estimated dependent on those previous growth rates and possible exceptions of certain policies that the World Health Organization and other bodies around the world introduce. So they have a very rough estimate of the numbers of people and the actual growth of the population itself. It's obviously not in any way at all accurate, but it is as close as anybody can actually get to giving the actual numbers that can be ascertained from the present figures that are constantly monitored in different countries throughout the world. So as of today, at this time, at about 3 o'clock on the 22nd of February, the world population is estimated at 7.848 billion people. So about 150 million people short of the 8 billion mark. And the figures are astounding when you think that 7.8 billion people alone. It's when you get to looking at some of the smaller figures on it of the other things that's going off with the populations is that you sort of can put a sort of an idea as some sort more of a concept of the numbers. Right, so we'll look at, say, just births alone today. Just today, up until now, up till 3 o'clock, so that's from midnight till 3 o'clock, that's midnight last night till 3 o'clock now. 240,000 births. Just nearly quarter of a million births in just a few hours. The estimated deaths today at present are only just over 100,000. So based on those two figures, the actual population growth today alone, up until 3 o'clock today, is 139,000 people. That's amazing. It doesn't matter how far out the estimates are. These are as close as all the calculations are made around the world. There are other world clocks, but this is considered to be the closest to the proper figures that are estimated. So look, we're only in February just yet, and already the births this year so far are 21 million, more than 21 million births already, and deaths only 8 million. Just 8 million, well, getting to nearly 9 million deaths now. So the population growth this year so far, in less than 2 months, is 12 million people. By the end of this month, it's probably going to get to around 14 million people, if not over. So you're looking at there, just on the basis of those figures alone. Just imagine the cities, you know, like say London or whatever, which is around about 8 million. Well, say 7 million, close to the main core of London at around 8 million is basically that size of city being produced every single month. 7 million people extra on this earth every month, and that's just at present figures. 7 million people, London born every month, one London every month. And of course they're all going to need the resources and use up the land, devastate our world with those sort of figures. To say that population is not a problem is living in cloud cuckoo land. And these are the people bringing these figures are not even considering that it's a major problem. They actually sort of mention that we can probably manage this situation even with these numbers that's happening, these growth rates that's happening. They have to, in a way, go along with this sort of premise to not worry us, and that is basically their reasons for not actually saying this is a problem, and that is the only reason. They know that there is a major problem, and I can't see that them not saying that it's a problem is helping. What they are trying to do is they're trying to make some types of control to actually keep the actual numbers down, and to some extent they have achieved a little bit, but their calculations on the growth rates of the populations sort of skew with their imagination of how bad this situation is, because of they basically got a percentage rate of what the population is growing at. Now the bigger the population is, the lower the percentage rate of growth will seem anyway. It's still millions of people. It's still basically the similar amount of people, even if there's slight reductions in the numbers that's being born. They were talking about that the 1960s was the biggest boom in numbers, and probably was, because of that was where within a very short space of time the world population doubled. In that short period of time, the 60s to 70s. And the only things that's helped to sort of it's not even a control at all, but it's sort of control has been purely education and health issues and all that sort of thing, being educated better. But yeah, it's in such a bad state. I'm not worried about the whole situation, just like almost everybody else is not in at all worried. I'm not worried because of I believe that we get what we reap here. We reap what we've sown. I only want you all to take notice of what is the reality. We already know the destruction that we are causing to this world. Knowing these extra millions just turning up, a city a month, you know how much damage we do to the earth just to create one city, and we're creating a city every single month out of nothing that was never there before. It cannot carry on like this. We cannot really do it. It's impossible. With farming and just where we live and everything like that, we are using already close to half of the landmass of this world. It probably is over the half the landmass of this world that we are actually taking stuff from, or farming the land to making it barren of life and vegetation other than just the crops growing or fields growing. And crops and fields are no good other than feeding us. But vast empty fields that would have had vegetation and trees and absolute massive biodiversity is disappearing, and every single month a city creates. It's not just the size of the city of that many people, it's the land that needs to be farmed to provide for that city, which is massive. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. It's been another sort of longish thing. It gives you some sort of thought about this situation. I would say, other than pointing it out and giving people the truth, there isn't much more we can do about that, other than that there may at some point become such a situation that very many things that most of us will not like will happen, whether we want it to or not, because pressure will build up, and pressure is already building up. And if it's not ourselves that's going to cause the problems amongst ourselves, it's certainly going to be nature itself that's going to create even more problems for us all. We are all endangering ourselves by the increase in our populations, let alone the damage we're doing day after day, second by second even. Yeah, have a stew on that little lot.